Hey guys, welcome back. We are in a brand new chapter today. Cannot wait to talk about it. So I've got this pestering fly, but we're going to ignore it and study the Bible. So jump right on in.
Welcome to Everyday Truth with Kurt Skelly. We believe the Bible is true and relevant to everyone, everywhere, every day. If today's conversation is a help to you, take a moment to leave a review or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening. Now, let's join Kurt for today's episode.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are in 1 Kings chapter 9 today. Really excited because we've been talking about Solomon talking to the Lord, praying, and then talking to the people, preaching. But today we're going to talk about the Lord answering. And aren't you glad that we have a God that answers? So God is answering Solomon's prayer, honoring Solomon's prayer, but giving him some warnings. And I feel like it's really important for us to understand that we have a God that has expectations for our lives. And we're going to see a little bit more about that on today's episode. Let me just dive right in. 1 Kings chapter 9 and verse number 1. Let me find my place. And it came to pass when Solomon had finished the building of the house of the Lord and the king's house. Remember, he had built the temple itself. That took 7 years. And then he had built the king's complex that involved the courtyards and the administrative buildings and all of that. That took another 13 years. So Solomon is now 24 years into his ministry. Wow, that's a long time. And everything is completed. That for which Solomon will be most known is the temple. And now all of that is done. And what does God have to say about it? Well, look at verse 1 again, where it says that all Solomon's desire, which he was pleased to do. Isn't that interesting that when the Bible talks about Solomon's construction project, it said that this was all Solomon's desire that he was pleased to do. Sometimes we get this wrong idea about serving the Lord, and that is that if you want to have fun, then just go out into the world. But if you want to serve God, then it's going to be really, really hard, and it's going to be a tough. And I'm not saying that it's not tough to serve the Lord in the sense that there's suffering and persecution, that kind of thing, but there ought to be pleasure and joy in serving Jesus. And we find in Solomon's life that all of that's true. He was pleased, and God gave him the joy of his heart in finishing that project. I like what it says about the Lord Jesus when it said of him, I delight to do thy will, O God. Jesus said famously, I do always those things that please him. And there's not a mutual exclusivity to serving God and serving with joy. Delight thyself also in the Lord, he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. I've got this pestering fly today, but we're just going to deal with it. Verse 2, that the Lord appeared to Solomon the second time, as he had appeared to him in Gibeon. So over 20 years before this, as Solomon had gone to Gibeon to make sacrifice, the Bible teaches that God had appeared to him. And remember that first appearance when God appeared to Solomon? That first appearance was an appearance where God said, Solomon, ask me whatever you want. And Solomon asked for an understanding heart. In essence, he asked for wisdom. And God promised, I will give you that wisdom, and I will give you the things that you did not ask for, the wealth and the prominence and all the things that the normal person would have asked for. Well, now the Bible says that God is appearing to him the second time. So the appearances of God, especially in this kind of situation, are very rare in the Bible. So here's Solomon, who is now seeing God or encountering God in this supernatural way a second time. You might say it this way. The first appearance, Solomon had nothing. Now, I understand that he was the king's son, but as far as he was young, he didn't have experience, he didn't have the wherewithal. And in that position of not having, he asked the Lord for wisdom. What a great answer that was to God's request, or God's offer, I should say. Now, 20 years later, Solomon has it all. He has the kingdom is secure. This beautiful complex has been built. The people's favor is behind him. He's a man of great notoriety. He has everything. And God has a second message for Solomon. Because sometimes when we have nothing, we're more apt to serve the Lord and seek his wisdom. And when we have everything, we tend to forget about the Lord. Sure, the Lord gives Solomon some assurances, but also gives him some pretty stark warnings. And I want you to see them. So look at verse 3, where it says, "And the Lord said unto me, I have heard thy prayer and thy supplication that thou hast made before me. I have hallowed," so to hallow means to set apart, to sanctify. "I have hallowed this house which thou hast built, to put my name there forever." Now listen to the last part of verse 3. I love this. "And mine eyes and mine heart shall be there perpetually." So God said, all right, Solomon, you've prayed that I would be here, that my presence would be featured in this place. And Solomon, all the things that you've prayed for, I'm going to answer. And specifically, I want you to understand what that means, that I'm here. It means that I'm looking, and it means that my heart is loving. I'm looking and I'm loving. I'm giving attention and affection. That's the God we serve. That's why we can come to our God as Abba Father. Why? Because we are the apple of his eye. He gives us attention. He's watching. He notices, even in your situation today, whatever that might be. And then he gives affection. It's one thing to notice, right? We've had bosses at work that notice, and we don't want them to notice because they're noticing in a critical way. Sometimes we have church members that notice, but they notice in a critical way. So it's not just attention, but it's affection. And when there's attention and affection, wow, what a wonderful combination that is. That's exactly what God promised Solomon. Now, quickly, verse 4, "And if thou wilt walk before me." So God answers Solomon's prayer. This place will be special. My name is here. Attention, affection. But now he says, but Solomon, this is not an unconditional promise to you. Now, God did make an unconditional promise to Solomon's dad, David. We call that the Davidic covenant, 2 Samuel chapter 7, where God promised that there will always be a successor from David that would ultimately arrive at the ultimate successor, the ultimate son of David, Jesus himself. But that does not mean that any one of Solomon's sons had that same promise. God is able to use others sometimes when people that were intended to be used are disobedient. So Solomon, I'm going to make you a conditional promise. So the big conditional word in the Bible is the word if. So if thou wilt walk before me, as David thy father walked, in integrity of heart, in uprightness, according to all that I have commanded thee, and will keep my statutes and my judgments. So, hey, Solomon, I've given you a great example, your dad. I've given you a very clear warning. Make sure you guard your heart. Follow me with your heart. I've given you good resources, my word. Here are the statutes. Here are the commandments. Follow them. So God never gives us an expectation without giving us the resource to meet that expectation. God will not guide where he will not provide. So he gives Solomon this condition, if you will, then look at verse 5, then will I establish the throne of thy kingdom upon Israel forever, the throne of thy kingdom. I will use you to perpetuate the Davidic covenant. I will bless you. Now, Solomon should understand that David had many sons. The fact that Solomon was now king was a measure of God's grace, because there were many sons of David. And so Solomon now is receiving this warning from the Lord, this conditional promise from the Lord. Hey, walk with me. Guard your heart. Be like your dad in this way. Read my word, follow it. As I promised to David thy father, saying, there shall not fail thee a man upon the throne of Israel. Solomon, you can be the fulfillment of that promise if you'll simply follow me. But, verse 6, if ye shall at all turn from following me, ye or your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them. So Solomon, if you don't guard your heart, if you don't follow the example of your dad, David, if you get away from my word and its teachings, if your heart goes to places where you're worshiping other gods, where you have basically abdicated your responsibility to lead a nation to follow me, then, verse 7, will I cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them. There will be horrible consequences. There will be national consequences. And I'm going to pin that on you or whatever one of your children or grandchildren are leading that create that situation. And this house, which I have hallowed for my name. Now think about it. It's brand new. The house of God is brand new. Will I cast out of my sight, and Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. Solomon, don't think that I'm impressed with a building. Don't think because you've put all this gold and all this craftsmanship and taken all this time and spent all this money that somehow I'm never going to judge this place. Solomon, it's never been about the place. It's never been about the building. And Solomon, if you aren't following me, then what good is the building? Because you're dishonoring me and my name. So in that case, I'll get rid of the building. And everybody will see, just like everyone sees now this beautiful structure, one day everybody will see ruin and they will know something about me, that I am not a God to be trifled with. And Solomon, today they can know about me in my goodness, in my greatness, that I'm the God to be honored. So live that life. But whether you live the life that honors God or you live the life that dishonors God, either way, God said, I will use your testimony to highlight my character. So how do you want it to be? Look at verse 8. And at this house, which is high, everyone that passeth by it shall be astonished. So, hey, Solomon, you built this temple in a very conspicuous place, way up here on top of the hill, and people can see it, but people will also be able to see your downfall. That's what happens when you are in a conspicuous place. You know, God raises people up. God gives people influence. God gives people fame in some cases. But be careful, because that which could be used and should be used to advance the name of God can also be something that is very notorious as a person that has fallen and now has been judged by God. So this place which is high, everyone that passeth by it shall be astonished and shall hiss, and they shall say, why hath the Lord done thus unto this land and to this house? And they shall answer, because they forsook the Lord their God, who brought forth their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and have taken hold upon other gods, and have worshipped them and served them. Therefore hath the Lord brought upon them all this evil. So wow, what a warning that God gave Solomon almost 3,000 years ago. And what a warning that God gives you and me 3,000 years later. So serve the Lord with gladness, work hard for him, keep your nose in his book, guard your heart, follow great examples, and just see the pleasure and the joy of serving Jesus. Hope that helps today. We'll see you next time. God bless you, my friends.